Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summer presentation of the BTS Americas Series number 3. Here we've got ourselves a best of 3 between Leviathan and Team Freedom. It is round 1 of the tournament, and I guess you can technically say day 2. Our first day was postponed, so now in this third day we get to see our second set of matches, and well, we're going to be seeing who's going to be going up long term down the road up against the winner of Not Today versus Digital Chaos, who were the winners of yesterday's games. So going into this first game of the best of 3 series, I myself am Blaze, but I'm not going out alone. Over to my right, as you can see, is Tralf. How you doing, man?
Am I some cool graphic or something?
Remaining.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for asking me to
5 seconds
cast.
remaining.
It'll be fun for me to see like the kind of new things that teams are doing, and because I haven't been able to watch for a little while. But yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. It should be kind of showing a little bit of the NA style. Like, generally speaking, it's going to be fast tempo, fast push, but we're still going to see some really team fight-oriented picks coming up from Leviathan. Now, I have to be honest, I haven't really watched a lot of Leviathan since November when Francis left their roster for another. It's going to be a little bit different to see Eagle drafting and Boris on the team as well. These two guys haven't been on the team all that long. It says they've actually joined just like 2 or 3 days ago. So this is going to be a new roster of Leviathan, a new game plan for them, and we'll see how it plays out.
Mirana.
Yeah, who did they have before? I know they had Flying Zebra, and who was their
Radiant
carry
team
player
pick.
at
Well,
Leviathan?
it's actually been mixed up
Was
a
it
little bit.
Ziz?
Yes, they had Ziz and Ja most recently on their roster. Flying Zebra, it says it's still current, but maybe he's coaching or something, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, they got the fresh tags and everything. That's kind of cool. That should be a lot of fun. And then Freedom, I guess they've kind of had the same roster since they
10
used in
seconds remaining.
when they made the opens for the Shanghai Major. So that's good to see that teams are still, or that there is still, despite not qualifying for much, is still able to
Reserve time.
kind of work out the differences and kind of, move forward. It's always nice to see in the NAC.
Definitely, and I'm even like looking at the European scene where there's a lot of tier 2 teams that just within the past week, 3 of them have had significant roster changes. One of them just disbanded. It's nice to see some stability on this side of the Pacific or the Atlantic. But
The NA region gets a lot of bad rap for that, but I've always said the Europeans do that honestly just as much. They really do. So that's good to hear.
definitely. So we'll have to see who is able to take this first best of 3. Of course, this is a single elimination tournament, so
Dire team back.
obviously here today, within the next 3 hours, we're going to see one of these two teams a little bit sad, but both still looking to prove themselves. And a round 1 knockout isn't as big of a deal. Like in the end, in the grand scheme of things, they want a big win. They want to put their name on second place or
10
first place on a
seconds
tournament like
remaining.
this, so they can get more invites to the better lands and
5
stuff like that, or at least
remaining.
into the qualifiers for those. Since I mean, would you say these teams have really a good
Reserve
reputation
time.
since they've been, obviously Leviathan has switched around quite a bit. They did get, of course, the invitation to the Shanghai Major qualifier, whereas Team Freedom had to go through the Open. But
Radiant
where would you
team
say the
back.
reputation of these two teams stands?
Like in terms of skill level, like tier level for NA, is
Yeah.
that what you're asking? I probably still relatively lower in the NA region. I mean, they both
10
did.
seconds remaining.
I think Leviathan was the lowest in their group, correct? Correct me if
5
I'm wrong. When
seconds
they were when they were doing the Shanghai majors, and
Yeah.
they did get invited, but I don't think they performed very well at all,
Reserve
to be
time.
frank. And then Team Freedom actually did a bit better than I thought most people thought they would do in the actual qualifiers. I mean, they did win the Open, so that's good for them. But Leviathan, I don't think
10
people are thinking
seconds
too
remaining.
much in terms of how they're doing as a team, just because they have new players, so
Dire
they're still
team pick.
trying to experiment with that. Team Freedom, though, they have been using, like I said, the same 5 for like what, 2 months now. So I mean, you would hope to see Freedom do a bit better. So I think the expectations are that Team Freedom are to take this best of 3,
Yeah.
just simply because of the stability with their roster. But who knows? Sometimes you have teams that are just in that somewhat honeymoon stage, if you can call it that, where they have new players and they feel confident and there's not
10
too much pressure
seconds
on them.
remaining.
So with the pressure being alleviated, maybe Team Leviathan will look better.
5
Yeah.
seconds
So just
remaining.
looking at the only drafts that we actually have for this roster of Leviathan, they have played 3 games against Elite
Reserve
Wolves. I guess it
time.
was a best of 5 because they lost all 3 of them. And they seem to have a push emphasis. They always had some kind of tower destroying heroes, often a Chant or something like that. This is a very different draft, actually completely the opposite. They're looking for the mid to late game. They've got a lot of synergy between heroes like Faceless Void and Witch Doctor, and now the Ember Spirit dealing damage in the Chronosphere. And so they're pretty much just going to be looking to set up their two key disablers, either the Mirana Arrow or the Void Chrono, and then following that up with just massive damage output. And overall, I think that should be pretty effective, because right now Team Freedom, they don't really have tanky heroes. They don't have ones that naturally build mechanism unless they get a lot of farm like the Earth Spirit. So all in all, I feel it all comes down to those arrows, those Chronos right now.
5 seconds remaining.
They still have pretty good push on the team of Team Freedom with Vengeful Spirit, Invoker, Forge Spirits. The one thing I do fear, though, is that with the first pick Enchantress, and we know that Ix Mike really loves this hero for the offlane, whether they go offlane duel or just a solo offlane, but they started out with the Void pick, which is pretty bad against Enchantress, but then they followed it up with a bunch of really good heroes against her. She has one of the lowest strength gains in the entire game. Now, she does have, obviously, the ability to stop a lot of auto attacks and physical attacks, but outside of the Void, they have massive magic damage from Zeus. Witch Doctor's Death Ward is really good because it ignores the untouchable. Mirana is okay, but sets up long range stun with the arrow plus Chrono. The Ember Spirit, who's going to be sliding you and doesn't really care about untouchable either. So they've actually drafted really nicely against the first pick Enchantress.
Yeah, I think they've been able to manage that quite effectively. Now, they don't have something like a Gyrocopter that will just destroy Enchantress in the laning phase. As long as Ix Mike gets his boots, he should be able to at least get his levels and to contest the lane to a decent extent. But yeah, I still think that Freedom, they have a lot of potential if their team fights come out early. I mean, of course, you're going to be seeing that Sunbee, safe lane Slardar, getting that Blink Dagger very early on. And I think overall, Freedom's intentions is just to get the jump before Leviathan really get to find their bearings. Before Jenkins hits level 6, the Slardar can be on the hunt. If you've got some good Exort in the Invoker, he's always there to follow up. And I don't know, I just feel like in this position, Freedom are going to be able to take the early game really effectively, unless Leviathan are pulling up some upsets.
Yeah, the laning phase is always a different thing with Enchantress, but outside of the laning phase, if Leviathan do have a good start, she's gonna have a rough time. But give me just a second. I'm gonna restart my stuff real fast because I am skipping just a little bit, so I'll be back in just a minute.
No problem, man. So we're going to be looking at the rosters here. We've got Sunbee on the Slardar, again running as that carry position. Mineski, I don't even know what to call him anymore. Some people hate the political correct stuff, some people don't. I'll just call him Francis. That's what I've been going with so far. So Francis is going to be running the mid lane, Invoker. Already starting with a Gauntlet, so it seems Magic won a Gauntlet. He wants to tank up against the Zeus, make it very difficult for him to get picked off, even if a decent arrow comes out. But anyways, fun is going to be that support Venge. We got the support Earth Spirit of Kiko Ura also going to be doubling it up, and that's of course going to be them roaming around trying to keep the lanes dynamic. Then we've got Ix Mike on the off lane here, just going to be getting some good stats to play around with, as long as they don't block off this. Oh, never mind. They just now blocked off the camp with the Sentry Ward. That is one of the better wards to block it with, since most people will D-ward to the west. But Ix Mike, he's a wily one, and he'll put the sentry down. It looks like he's just off the mark, though. He doesn't see it naturally, has to tango twice just to get to it, and he won't get it before the 30-second spawn. Or maybe he will. Nope, just close. But
nope.
That's
barely.
So he'll get it in 30 seconds here, but it looks like the Earth Spirit's going to have to contribute to his lane more than just dumpstering the Zeus in mid.
Yep, so he'll be wasting a little bit of time right there, but that's okay. This matchup in mid is actually okay for Zeus. He really doesn't have too many problems with any matchup, honestly. He can just keep spamming and spamming. Although once you get some levels on, and he is going Exort, which I think is the right way to go, that he can deny he can actually out-deny Zeus just because his damage is bigger than that of the Chain Lightning. So once he gets to your levels, I think that Invoker's going to be doing better.
We're going to see an arrow dodge up top. Our Spirit actually not even bothering to skill anything just yet. Knows that he's just going to have to save the skill point for, I guess, some versatility, but 90% of the time you're going to see that rolling boulder very early on. Now, I kind of like this Mirana in the jungle. Nushem is pulling out here. I actually, as soon as the patch hit, I thought that she could be one of the more effective roaming supports. Obviously, Earth Spirit came into play as a support here rather than an offlane, and that kind of got to be the big priority. But you see here the effectiveness is just being able to go in, arrow creeps. You get free gold, free experience. It's kind of like Crystal Maiden, but you're even more valuable by missing off the map.
It's also a really nice combo with Syrian Chains. He's actually going for Slight over Flame Guard, which is a little interesting because Flame Guard's quite good against Enchantress.
Yeah.
How she has no way to like really deal with that, and it's just pure magic damage. But has the range, so it makes her a little bit scared. And look at, they just kind of forfeit this offlane, which is really good for Leviathan. But yeah, the Searing Chains arrow combo is really, really nice. They have a lot of nice ways to set this up. I guess basically Searing Chains and the Void Chrono, but those are two very, very good ones.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he went for the Slight now. It's because at level 3 he suddenly can be have the 2-1-0 build, and that makes it so they can't even get close to him, or Boris will automatically set up that arrow. So far, pretty quiet. They're going to be giving Face of Void actually quite a bit of farm here down on bottom. He's only got 4 CS for now, but he's getting full experience. Only 1 pull coming out from Fun now. So, do you feel like this Void is going to be able to do a little bit too much, or are they just happy to be pressuring the Ember Spirit early?
I don't know if they're really even pressure. Well, I guess he actually is taking a lot of damage, but he has a salve. He's getting free farm though, and Jenkins on the Void is really not getting much CS compared. Or comparable. A little bit of weird stuff going on top, but no commitment. It's just weird to see that there's nothing in a Flame Guard right now, but you can't really, like, you can kind of threaten to get him with a nice arrow combination with Searing Chains, but he's got no damage, so I don't know if I really fully agree with this build from Boris.
Yeah, I think...
So wait and see how it goes. And also, because he's sharing experience with all of his supports right now, he's going to be leveling very, very slow.
Zeus Bit is going to be going down here. The Cold Snap, the Forward Spirit, as well as the Roman from Fun. Good flank there, and they're able to find a good experience momentum as far as just Zeus versus Invoker, both of them very dependent on the early experience. But yeah, I definitely think I see what they were trying to accomplish with Boris's build. It probably worked really well in the scrim. Oh, wow. Already dropping very low. One more Hadouken, but no mana on that Satyr. It's been re-enchanted once already, so no surprise that it has exhausted its mana pool. But yeah, I think it's probably like one of those situations where they had a scrim where they tried to strat out the Mirana Ember, and they had like a 3v1 lane, and they said, okay, well, this sets up the pickoffs. This is how you want to do it. And that gave them the free lane. But in this case, it's much more contested. The worst case scenario is that the Enchantress has to block the arrow with a creep, which still gets the person out scot-free. I just feel like it would have worked in a different matchup, but this one, it seems to be actually hurting his laning contribution.
Yeah, and Slardar's having a very, very good time bottom. It's essentially a 1v1. I haven't really seen much pulls going on. Vanguard ganked mid once, and then mid is getting just dominated here by Mineski Fangay. Like, he's at 28 and 12 CS, and Shibi has very, very little CS. I know there was roaming going on, but this is a pretty big disparity here in the mid lane. And look at that, he's like, no boots, he's just gone straight Midas. He's kind of Midas at 5 minutes.
Ix might take some damage, but he's got this Fairy Fire, Magic Wand, and the Nature's Attendance. They can't connect with the chain, so with this Untouchable, he's already starting to man up again. They exhaust all their mana, all their spells, and just doesn't bring Mike down. We're actually going to be seeing the Earth Spirit roam towards mid with that smoke alongside Fun, but it looks like Shibi's gotten wind of this.
You'll not thrive.
So Mineski's just going to go for his first Midas on the Mud Golem. It's not really all that effective in terms of his boost and experience, but it's the most convenient for him to just keep clearing things out. Most of the time you'll see them just move over to the hard camp there, but nevertheless, this is going to be movement here. But Boris, he goes for the Slight, and he doesn't even connect with the chains here. That's like such a critical miss.
Oh. Really nice double stun there from Jubei with that. And Ix Mike taking some damage from the tower. Obviously, the tower doesn't care about Untouchable either. It may have overstayed his welcome. That's nice cast there coming out from Eagle with a Zeus ult, but he actually doesn't KS it, so to speak.
And Zeus is
So,
flanking.
a little
Double
weird
damage.
play
Right
there.
click coming out from the Zeus, but Murano will claim that kill. And now they're going to try to bring down Venge too. They do not have enough for the Arc Lightning just yet, but they're willing to dive a little bit to commit for this kill. The Sunstrike actually could have been really bad for Leviathan, but the tower is actually what's going to bring the Zeus down. That's such a huge kill for the Venge. Suddenly Venge level 4. It doesn't even matter if she dies. Her vengeance has been made known, and yeah, we're going to see Jubei make a little play here onto Eagle, who's just
Dire's
nowhere
middle tower
near
is
home,
under attack.
trying to kind of set up this arrow
Radiant's
combo
top
again,
tower
but
is under attack.
Boris has just not made the skill combo connect.
Unfortunately, a miss stun right there. He's going to try to go for... Oh, misses that one too. Lunushim trying to get out. He does leap out over the cliff. Nesky Fangate, he does have... Sunstrike. It divides the damage, though, between the Eagle. And he will be okay. Some really weird stuff going on both sides. That was just kind of a interesting dive there from Mike. And just got owned by the tower. And then also Shibi going in there. He actually... I don't know if he was expecting the Sunstrike to come. But if he kept going there and just ran directly towards him, trying to get the kill with Chain Lightning, he would have died at the Sunstrike with that Nesky Fangate placed. But very, very weird stuff.
Yeah, this is definitely not the landing phase that you would expect out of these two drafts. Obviously, they're trying to create opportunities for the heavy exhort invoker, but the Sunstrikes just haven't connected, and that's allowed the skirmishes to continue. Leviathan have chipped in here 3-2, and they're going to go again. Now the Steering Chain should set up the Chronosphere if there's any contest, but with the Arrow and the Thunder Gods, they're going to be happy with that.
That's nice. That is essentially a 5-man gank, though. I mean, Zeus
Yeah.
wasn't there. He did get the credit, but that's a lot of stuff expended just for your Enchantress, and she's not really got that much gold. She's 0-2 and 0, level 4 at 8 minutes, so doesn't really offer you that much in terms of
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
you know, gold and what you gain from killing her. You have an extremely farmed Invoker. You have 50 CS in your Slardar, who has a blink now, by the way.
Yeah.
So
I want to talk about that matchup a little bit here. We saw the Slardar duel it out with the Faceless Void one-on-one, and it feels like Sunbi has just gotten so much more out of that matchup. Yes, the Void gets a lot more than he normally would in the offlane, but he still went for the Iron Talon, which in my mind is a build where it's like, oh, I'm kind of being shut down. I'll go for the Iron Talon, that way I can keep up. We're going to see a nice stun combo here. Ix might take it a lot, but they're going to need the Chronosphere to secure this. Mike can just walk away. They'll just walk down the river. There will be a time dilation coming out against them, but it's only level 1. Not that much slow. Jenkins eating a little bit of Sunstrike damage, but it is divided in twain. Now Ix Mike trying to continue his sojourn into the river. It's going to be Sunbi with a big Blink Crush, and the Meteor comes down as well. Boris taking massive damage. That's 2 down. Nusham with a leap unavailable should be going down with this next Blink Crush. There's the boulder, there's the crush, and that's a 3-kill swing. What a
Radiant's
brilliant
middle tower
execution
is under
and
attack.
perfect timing from Sunbi.
yeah, very nice that he... I mean, like, say for example, he goes for treads over just the rush blink or something like that. Like, you might not have had it there, might not have been in the right place at the right time. At the same time, you need to recognize what kind of spells you have that are actually going to kill this Enchantress. It's primarily the Zeus, and then I figured it was going to be its
Radiant's
Flame
middle
Guard,
tower
which
is
isn't
under
fully
attack.
leveled up yet. It's only level 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
Ember
still
Spirit
think
himself is
that's-
only level 6. He's just had a really rough start, but
Well, it could be level 4 here in just a second, but now it's probably only going to be level 3. Yeah, level 3, as he finally levels it up again. But
yeah. I feel like in a different world, in a different matchup, that the Slight at level 2 is actually creating a lot of value, as it extends your range so you can get that set up, but it's just not the game that we have seen so far. We've seen a lot of back and forth skirmishes. It's not been just quick picks and making sure the offlaner doesn't go near the creep wave. It's fighting for your life, and the Flame Guard certainly would have been more valuable.
also, the Chrono was
Radiant's
kind of...
bottom
I think he
tower is under
specifically
attack.
tried to place it just to get one hero, because he didn't want to Chrono his own allies into it.
Yeah.
But that also created a weird thing for Leviathan in trying to pursue the kill onto Enchantress. Also, one thing to note, too, about Ix Mike's build is that I typically don't like this, but he actually put more of his points in maxing the Nature's Attendance rather than the Untouchable, just because he recognizes the fact that it's not actually that great of a spell, this game, or skill, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, there's
It's
so
more-
much
it's better
spell-based
to have
damage for
the,
sure.
Right, exactly. That's a Blink Dagger now for the Invoker. He is so farmed.
Yeah, that Midas came out so quickly, and then he got 2 kills shortly thereafter, so he is large and in charge, farming fast. The double forge also allows you to take care of the jungle really quickly, and now he's even pressuring the lane
Radiant's top
heavily.
tower
But
is
he's
under
actually
attack.
conserving his Midas. He's still going to prioritize
Dire's
experience.
bottom tower is under attack.
Going to hang on to it. Maybe just hit it from the jungle, because they do have the hard camp now a lot closer, and yeah, he's going to be able to take care of that, no problem. So suddenly he's halfway to level 11. He is top in the net worth at almost 6,000, and it just feels like he's going to take control of the game. But mid here, Ike's Mike, there's all that spell-based damage we were talking about. They're going to be able to jump him very nicely and get their combo off.
Although
Radiant's
Shibby did
middle
use the ult,
tower
which
is
didn't
under
even hit him.
attack.
It was used after the first got the kill. So you see the burst damage when they have the Zeus in play against this Enchantress, and that's what happens when you. Oh, there was an arrow actually towards the left as he's TPing out, and the Potom being played by Nushim, he will be okay. So there is a lot of hate toward this Enchantress, and that's what I said as I saw it being picked up first. But that is the least of their worries right now against Team Freedom.
So at this point in the game, I thought that Freedom would be able to kind of start making moves more offensively. It feels like kind of they're stopped in their tracks a little bit by the last couple of exchanges, but this Invoker is still huge. Is it better for Francis to just keep on split pushing and farming and building himself up, or should he actually start using these items to find kills?
Well, I would assume he goes for the. I feel like he goes more for Wolves. And I would like to see him get active. When you have this much net worth, I think it's
Radiant's
important
middle
to use it
tower
in
is
team
under
fights.
attack.
I think typically you want to split push when you feel like you're not strong enough in fights, but I feel like Freedom is, with Slardar having such a good time and Invoker having such a good time. So there's a Potom ult now looking for Mineski. I think they're gonna find him too.
Yep, they're going to be able to jump in with that Chronosphere. The Death Ward's inside the Chronosphere, so they're going to have to arrow, but it's still enough damage in spite of Eagle's mistake.
A lot of interesting spell usage from this team so far. A lot of, I wouldn't say misused Zeus ultis, but some mistimed. I would say that last one was misused. Oh, some action going on in mid.
Yep. Quick jump there. They've got so much range of initiation with that Blink Dagger and, of course, the Earth Spirit. As long as this target isn't moving, Rolling Boulder is just such a great skill for nailing down a target. Otherwise, you have to be a lot more precise. But in spite of that, though, the Earth Spirit hasn't really had that much of a game. Like, he's got the Urn of Shadows now, so I expect he'll be able to get more involved, but it's mostly just relying on Sunbeam to make the openings happen. I think he's got to be the most active one, and then the Invoker can follow it up from a distance.
Boris trying to do a little bit of backlaning, as he now finally has his Flame Guard up, so maybe use a Remnant, and not quite sure what he's doing actually. Spading out Jenkins.
But they saw him already,
coming in
so
for Venge.
it's a little awkward.
This is interesting. Yeah,
I don't think this is going to work, honestly. There's just too much already committed here. Jenkins will be going down, get silenced up, and although they won't check over where Boris... Oh no! Bash is not skilled, but the swap is there. His TP is gone, and he'll have to go on the run.
Still not as swift as the speed of my thoughts.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know if he was going to have time for the Slithering Crush in time. I'm still skipping a little bit, so it's hard for me to ascertain. But I see some action going up top. Witch Doctor, he is in trouble. Just a blink. Cold Snap and Forge Spirits, and that little bit of negative armor just makes him melt so fast. And yeah, I think he is going to go for the Yules. It just makes most sense, especially when you have a Blink Dagger. And it's definitely his style. So.
Yeah, certainly. And he's just going to be looking for maxing Exhort at this point forward, so you can go for the Yules, then maybe the Aghanim's or something like that. Just get a massive Meteor Sunstrike combo that there's pretty much nothing that Leviathan could do to
nice
negate.
deny.
Yeah, really well done from Jacobs there, but we'll see if there's actually going to be success in the subsequent fight. Nushem can't get the leap off in time, and it's another kill for Freedom. What was an even game is now a significant lead for Freedom, 9-6.
Their laners just did a lot better. Like, mid lane just did so much better than the Zeus, and then the Slardar versus the Void. Again, I wasn't paying too much attention to that because there was kind of a interesting lane top, but I think it was 1v1 for the most part.
It was, absolutely.
Honestly, I feel like Void is a little bit better, to be honest. I said honest twice there, though. There's the proper Death Ward placement.
Yep. And you'll notice that Sunbeam didn't even bother going in for the crush. Sure, he could interrupt the Death Ward, but that's just a fight they don't want to get involved in at all. So they're just going to completely bail out. And sure, they lose the Earth Spirit, but that's the cooldowns that are committed. But yeah, I definitely think the Void should have a bit of an advantage. He can bully a little bit more, the level 1 time lock, as well as the active backtrack through that time walk. It seems like he should be able to trade more efficiently with the Slardar. Of course, the Crush at level 2 is 1.9, so I think that means that you can't backtrack level 2 crushes, but it's just kind of how the matchup plays out. Like, if you're gonna... If you bully him back, if you get the Stout Shield in more regen, then you should just be able to at least start pulling ahead in the lane, but he was actually really far behind because the lane started 1v2.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with it, of course. But Void's attack damage being so high at the start, with coupled with the fact that I guess he didn't go for an oob or anything like that. Deny attempt. Nope. There comes a crush. Eagle is gonna die.
He's actually going for this though.
Boris comes in.
I don't know. This guy is playing Ember Spirit in ways that I really don't expect. I haven't seen Boris before. This is my first impression for him, but a lot of his movements seem a little awkward. I'm not so sure about him just yet.
Oh, you've never seen him play?
No, I have
like
actually.
In the in-houses and stuff when you were Yeah, he played FPL a little bit, but yeah, he's off to a very, very slow start, and I agree. There's some interesting decisions being made in terms of his placement or what he thinks he can do with his team. Like, for instance, that thing with the Void bottom. I have no idea what he was trying to do. I thought he was just going to throw Remnant, cut lane, farm it with his level 4 Flame Guard that just came up, and then run away, but then Void just fed off a free one, so I don't know. Crush here in the mid.
Oh, going pretty deep here. Nusham's going to be able to tank up just enough. That Magic Wand build actually gives him the HP he needs to survive, so he'll keep his distance. They will lose towers, though. A lot of towers have just kind of been gone down without any contest. I mean, we saw now 2 tier 1s for the dire side. One claim bottom by the Witch Doctor, and then they get 1 kill in return. Sun does have the crush here onto Jenkins, so it looks like he will be going down as the pure damage strikes against him. So it's going to be a deny this time around. The top towers of both sides have been denied, and that's going to just take a little bit more gold off the table. Which team do you think is more item dependent as we watch this potential kill bottom?
Oh, what's going on? There's bottom ulti. This is going to be hard if they don't go. Let's see. Item dependent. Well, I'll hold that thought. He does get the Yules.
Oh, there's going to be a great crush onto 2. Even with the arrow, Mineski's just going to try to jump himself out. Magic Wand Force Staff almost gets him away. They will kill off the Witch Doctor with that return damage, and Boris in a very rough spot. So it's probably worth it just to finish off the Invoker, since the fight was already committed to anyways, but it is obviously his death once again. That's his second of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of reliable gold on the Embers too, so he actually bought his bots and still has 1,300, so definitely worth it for him. It was really important. His Invoker's death were like 650, well, hold that thought. His Venge is getting pretty big himself now, at 4, 1, and 4. Almost as a 4-staff, actually.
Yeah. Where I thought a lot of these heroes would just be a little bit too squishy, they're making up for it with a lot of basic items here. You got the Bracer on the Venge, a Cloak Dragon Lance on the Enchantress. These heroes that seem to be easy kills with just a few spells are now heroes that can kind of stand in the fight for an extended period of time. It's not as easy for the Zeus to take care of. Obviously, the Aether Lens, the level 11 that's about to come into play, those are going to help him a little bit, but overall, Freedom are not just going to be knocked down by just one volley of spells.
To answer your question, though, I still think Freedom's more item dependent. That's why it's so good for them that they've had such a good start. Because, say for instance, Slardar and Invoker didn't have a good start. These heroes, they need items to function. They need farm. So if they didn't have a fast blink dagger on Slardar, he's just kind of running around with a sprint. Whereas Leviathan, their heroes all just do well with levels. Yeah, farm is obviously great for Ember Spirit specifically, but with Chrono, Zeus ulti, and things, like, you don't need too much farm to still get these spells off and be good in team fights. So
commitment on the mic, they get the Death Lord, and that is going to be a certain kill. But what does Freedom do with this timing window is my main question. With the Chronosphere down, the Thunder God's Wrath at the same time, these are the cooldowns Leviathan need to fight. So I feel like now Freedom are able to take the entire map, maybe take the bottom tier 1. What do they do with this timing window? It kind of will be telling of where their mind is at for this game.
Well, it looks like they're going to go for a smoke here into a gank on Boris, and it... Oh, he actually gets the blink out in time? Or, no, he had the Remnant, sorry, yeah. I'm lagging a bit, but... I thought they were going to use that smoke and just go Roche. They have great tools to Roche. Slardar, Venge, Invoker, that thing would die in just a matter of seconds. They chose to go for a more risky route, and I don't agree with that. Even if they got that gank, I think it's better to just take Roche, and then with that Aegis you can take tons of objectives. You can group up, take more than just one tower, probably 2, maybe even 3, if the lanes are pushed in your favor.
They probably thought there was time for both because they saw him moving in under the Observer Ward. They were like, okay, well, Void's going to walk in. We go ahead, take him out, and then make our move right into the Rosh Pit. No ultimates and no Ember Spirit to annoy us or even go for the Aegis Snatch. It just kind of seemed like a play that would kind of allow them to have their cake and eat it too. But in this case, Boar slips out. They don't get to really take advantage of that time period. And, of course, we do see the Witch Doctor, the only kill they've taken within this timing window.
Yeah, and outside of the Invoker, all the net worth is pretty even, so if you take him out of a fight instantly with Leviathan, and they have the tools to do so with the Chrono, I suppose there is swap. It is only level 1. You can also pull people out of a Chrono. I don't think that's a thing, is it?
On the
I don't
or
play
Spirit,
this
no, you cannot.
much. I was going to say, I don't think that's a thing. But, still have swap, and it's a little iffy at level 1, but it's still there. If he doesn't have that out, though, he's just dead instantly. Oh.
Speaking of, that is very, very dead Void. Just perfect combo coming in from Francis once again. Max Exort, he is just massive. I mean, compare his net worth to anybody else in the game, including his own teammates. He's just a whole tier above everyone.
Well, that is the scary thing, though, is that their carry is the carry. I suppose you can say Slardar is kind of a carry, but he went for, more of an offlane type with the Tranquils and the Force Staff, so we'll see. He can transition. Usually it's with a Midas, and he didn't go for that. So you have to be worrying about that in the back of your mind. Force taking a lot of pure damage. Boy, if they combo that up with like a Sunstrike or something, that would be embarrassing. But
oh my. Yeah, there's not really a lot of ways for the Enchantress just to get that kill, but if it did happen, that would be enough to tilt anybody. Like I can't comment on his psyche because I haven't seen him play much, but anybody in NA Dota would be absolutely on tilt after a death.
Oh, like they saw smoke.
Yeah.
They saw the smoke with the ward, and then it's gonna be a lot of wasted time. They know instantly Yellow is back in the F out of there. And waste time. I'm really surprised Freedom haven't gone for a smokers play though. Like it would seriously die so fast. The lanes have been pushing pretty well for Leviathan, all things considered. With this kind of lead with the Invoker and the Slardar being so far ahead, you'd expect there to be a lot more map control, but not yet. Invoker gets caught out.
Ooh, this is gonna be a great kill for them. The arrow will guarantee it. Zeus will KS it. Chippy gets that chunk of experience, which is gonna allow him to progress very rapidly towards his critical items. We're actually going to be seeing Sunbeam make the jump, and if he can just get one bash, oh, Ike's Mike, no, he misses the impetus! He hits a creep, and we're going to see instead Leviathan jump onto Sunbeam, and it's going to be him going down. Ike's Mike dropping very quickly too. Can they finish the Enchantress off, though? No, they go for the easier target, the Venge, who swaps herself out. Very selfish play, but maybe a necessary one, and we'll just see Ike's Mike continue to dish it out. That Untouchable is something they don't seem to have an answer for right now, and more impetuses will fly.
It was really bad for Freedom, but it could have been just absolutely horrible. Venge, you said selfish, but it was actually the right play because he picked up the gem he was dropping, trying to save himself. Although it's not over just yet. Here comes an arrow, actually not on the mark. Actually does hit Jufei, not intended though, as it was there for the Enchantress. I think that'd be bad to go on that though. They've kind of blown their load right now and used all their spells. And I don't think Leviathan want to fight right now. Now would be a good time with the lanes kind of pushing up top. I still think that this Roche play needs to happen from Freedom before you get enough gold onto... Actually, you know what? Leviathan really can't do it fast at all. So I don't see them doing it anytime in the next 10 minutes. But
there's no push from that direction, but it's still going to be a very important area to fight in because we're actually seeing... I don't think they've scouted it yet, but there's this ancient stack that can be cleaved up by the Ember Spirit. Obviously, that Tier 1 tower is something that they have to address pretty soon because that's giving them a lot of... it's giving them a proxy into the map and into the Radiant Jungle where a lot of fights have happened and a lot of successful fights for Leviathan at that.
Yeah, and you asked in the beginning, like, with their lead, should they be, focusing more specifically on, like, split pushing for the Invoker and whatnot? Obviously, with your net worth lead, you want to be fighting. Like if you're in the lead and you have items that they don't, and you have core items, you want to be fighting, taking the fights to them. But map control is also important too. And the fact that this Tier 1 tower bottom is still up and it's really pretty healthy is a little bit concerning here for Freedom. As they're trying to do something on Taboris, he does sniff it out though, and he's actually pretty close to his Battle Fury. So he had a pretty rocky start, but he's recovered nicely with some important kills on some very, very important cores for Freedom, which is really just 2 heroes, so I don't think Enchantress is going to be much of a core, although we'll see. She is very close to her axe.
Well, it is,
Radiant's
like you were talking about that
middle tower
geometry
is
site
under
from the
attack.
last fight, it's probably going to be the
Radiant
ticket to
structures
gaining
are
map
fortified.
control. Right now it's on Sunby instead of
Dire's
Jubei,
bottom
but we are going to
tower
be
is
seeing
under
that
attack.
he's able to kind of scout things out, make sure there are no
Radiant's
wards in
middle
an
tower
offensive
has
position, and
been
pretty soon they could
denied.
start just taking certain parts of the map and making sure that the enemy's blind. They don't have to be really all that afraid of a Moonlight Shadow play either because of the geometry side. I mean, obviously it comes down to positioning. If there's a good flank coming out, still Leviathan might be able to kind of catch Freedom by surprise, but for the most part, this gem should be the answer for their current map control woes.
This Potom's got a mech.
Really?
Just
Okay.
Randomly just threw out a mech. Yeah, I saw that he was like 5,000 net worth and ahead of like the supports in Leviathan are doing quite well actually. I'm like, where's his gold? And then just a straight up mech was delivered on the courier. So
I don't know, man. I
Especially
usually
considering-
I usually look at this Priestess of the Moon or the Mirana and look at her as a hero that if she's not getting kills and assists very early, then she's not going to be doing anything. She doesn't scale all that hard. She doesn't really have great means of farming, but that changed in the
she's-
last patch with that arrow. It's actually so, like 40 of those creeps, probably 30 of them are the biggest creep in the camp. Nusham's been really able to get a lot for himself.
Dire's
Well,
middle tower is
I
under
thought it was going to be
attack.
a Midas and then just her take it to the late game because she disagreed just a little bit. I think Mirana's incredibly good late game with items.
Dire's
It just
tower
depends on what
is
route
under
you want to
attack.
go, and in this game, Nushin decided to go for more of a support route, which I think is fine, considering the fact that all you have to make sure is you don't get blown up by like an Invoker combo.
Sure.
Especially the Void, because if he gets gone on, and if he does the Sunstrike Meteor Deafening Blast combo, but if he lives, even with just like a little bit of help from the Witch Doctor healing him up plus a mech, and he gets that time, whatever it's called, time walk off, fight's over. Like Freedom has to back out. If that fails, then they just lose. So it's incredibly important that these support items like a mech and man, if they could even afford somehow like a pipe on this Potom, they would be golden because their late game is significantly better than Freedom's, and Freedom is just not closing out.
I agree. They're not really taking full control of the map. Now they're going to move into the Roshan. They already Sunstrike scouted it once. But as you said,
Double
there's
damage
not
empowers
that
me.
much threat of Leviathan doing it themselves, even with 5-second arrows against it. Even if somebody bought a medallion, I don't think it's going to be a very clear Roche. But they've got this ward on the high ground here, and they're going to be looking to make a jump onto that bottom lane. Boris, can they actually find him? They only find Eagle in the trees. It looks like it'll just be the death of the Witch Doctor. As Boris will look to BOT. Oh no! Okay, he's got the Remnant, and he will just bail himself out. But can they actually buy back and go for a play here
Dire's
with the Death
bottom
Ward?
tower is under attack.
They could. Yeah, they could. But Boris is taking a
Oh,
lot
now
of
they
damage.
can't. No, okay. We're going to see still the combo come out, the Chrono ×2, but we're going to see that Venge swap, now a Death Ward. It will be Magic Missile to the death of Fun. It's going to be Francis come in, make a major play happen with the Deafening Blast on the backside. Does kill off that Witch Doctor as a dieback, but Mike will be slowed down quite considerably. This stone is not going to be enough to keep Mike up as a double bash comes through from Jenkins, and that gives Shibby a triple kill. Well, it didn't look great because the fight started, well, the second half of the fight started with the death of the Ember Spirit, a major source of damage for their team. It still was a good enough Chrono and a lot of damage from the Zeus that added up very quickly. It was actually 4,000 damage from the Zeus, twice as much as the Invoker there.
A lot of damage, and the big thing too is the gem was recovered by Jenkins. So I was clicking around and trying to find it, but yeah, he does have that. So I mean, obviously they can kind of scout things out with Zeus bolts and whatnot, but that becomes a little annoying, and you don't want to constantly just be running around Zeus bolting everything. So, not to mention you're taking it away from Freedom. So their map
Yeah.
control, if they're able to get some of these wards off, which are important wards, it's really going to neuter the vision of Freedom, and they need everything they can get. Like they are definitely on a timing, I think. That being said, they do have Venge, who kind of helps that, timing pushes a lot because it just makes his team relevant throughout the rest of the game. Boris taking a lot of damage, and he's got to be more careful, man.
Yeah, a lot of good combos coming out against him. It's just
Way too far up.
quick jumps, and he's just been playing with fire in a lot of his positions, and you just can't always rely on your
Dire's
reflexes to
bottom
save you.
tower is under attack. Dire's structures
And any
are
kind of pick, yeah,
fortified.
alright, here we go. So any kind of pick will lead into a fast Roshan if you have a lineup. With any kind of Shadow Fiend or negative armor
Dire's
lineups, and they have a lot of that.
bottom
So
tower is under attack. Dire's
here we go,
bottom
finally,
tower
the
is
Roshan will be attempted at 31 minutes, or 30 minutes, I should say.
Yep, so that should be a pretty clear-cut thing for them. Leviathan don't want to get in on that at all. They're just going to stay across the map. We'll see an arrow scout things out, maybe even help them. No, it's going to hit Mike. Oh, the Aegis is going to stay on the deck for a little bit here, but they'll cover it. They'll hang on to it, and Mike will have that second life.
Let me check out the items here. I'm surprised still that Invoker doesn't want it. Maybe even just hand off his Midas. But alright. So it's going to make it that much more difficult for Enchantress to kill. And now that she is packing a punch with this Axe, it's pretty important to keep her in the fight too, because you see just how much damage she's doing to this Ember. Sometimes you have a false sense of security too playing Ember because you think, oh, you know, I'm fine with this Flame Guard up, yada yada yada, but there's so much pure damage coming out from the side of Freedom that you gotta be a little bit careful.
Absolutely. Now, this Enchantress still really packs a punch. When she hits level 16, she's going to be doing like 225 pure damage per auto attack at max attack range, so that adds up very quickly with a hero that can attack as rapidly as she can. And I feel like if she was level 16, the Aegis would be almost a no-brainer on her because of how Francis has been playing his Invoker. He's always kind of a one-and-done, quick jump in, throw out his spells, then back off and look for a reinitiation where they really just can't get a handle on him. Whereas Ike's Mike has always been in your face. He's always, if not the first person in, then the second or third. And actually going to see the Zeus play, get the Yules up, get the Blink out. Shippy will survive. And that's going to be very important as it looks like there's going to be a fight down bottom. Mineski, Fangay, Francis, whatever, he's going to push that top tier too. But in the meantime, we've got Leviathan closing in on bottom. As long as they scout any TPs, they can't actually jump to that because of the arrow. And it's going to actually be hard to hold this, but they'll bring in everybody. And it looks like they should be able to get one pick up on the retreat.
And they do get a stun there, Jenkins.
Oh, detection? Nothing? Blinks out? Time walk? Oh, he goes for the chrono, instead goes and gets Sunstruck. Tries to get himself out of that one, but no dice.
Well, just one death. They didn't get the tower, unfortunately, and Freedom did up top, so definitely better trades here for Freedom. I think Leviathan had the right idea. They know that Freedom is much stronger at this juncture, especially taking the Roche, and they need to dodge. So it's just a typical formula. When you're down, you need to dodge, and you need to split push, and when you're up, you want to address all their split pushes and fight them. So Freedom did a good job there.
Alright, quick kill onto Eagle as they go for the Invis and then the Blink. And cool guys don't look at their tornadoes, they'll just let them die to that. It looks like they have that map control they've been coveting throughout the start game. Nusham should be able to just ghost as his leap is on cooldown. And knowing that, it looks like they'll just be able to finish him off with some nice spells. Boom! Goes the Dynamite. That's the Arsenal Magus picking him up his 11th kill this game. 11, 3, and 6 for Francis, as we see them just go ahead and push in mid. They are actually starting to dominate the map, not in wards, but just in overall presence.
Soldier's fortune.
And it becomes even stronger when they push together because the Venjor is so good with Forward Spirits and Alacrity and all that jazz. So, yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask anything more from this Invoker. He's ridiculously farmed right now. And they just have to play around their cooldowns better. Leviathan need to go. Do they even have any smokes left? It's hard for me to navigate.
They do have one in the shop, one on the Witch Doctor as well. So they do have. Oh, and one on the Courier. That's 3 smokes. That's 3 options. But it just
they should be using their. I know they have an Aegis on the side of Freedom, but they need to find openings without this Ember, and they can do it. They have the damage with Zeus and the Witch Doctor, Ulti, and Chrono. They just need to find the any kind of smoke play into a gank and just use their cooldowns and give time for this Ember to get really, really big. Because without him having damage on top of his cleave, it's only the Zeus that can D-push. And if he dies to some kind of swap or any initiation, they just lose. So it's really important that they have more than just the Zeus for split push.
Yeah, and there's so many ways they can get picked up right now. There are 4 Blink Daggers on Freedom. There are 2 Force Staffs. There's the Yules. They can combo up on this Ember Spirit. They can set up a Deafening Blast so easily, and he'll just die in that one stun. It's going to be really difficult for Leviathan to keep their allies alive if they're spreading the map. So when you can't spread the map and extend further to farm, the answer is to go for that smoke and 5-man. And that's why I completely agree with you about the smoke usage, but I also think that's why Freedom are constantly pushing in their lanes. It's like, okay, well, if we keep the lanes constantly pushed out, then there's no way they can kind of sneak up on us because we know that where they're farming or where they're not.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I feel like Freedom could have done this about 15 minutes
Yeah.
ago because they had such a big lead then too.
Dire's bottom tower
You
is
see
under
where it dips
attack.
down in the graph, and that's pretty much yeah, about 15 minutes ago, or maybe a little bit more, 20 minutes ago. Aegis does expire, so that's important, but you do have to respect the high ground defense of Leviathan. That's why it's very, very important that Zeus stays very far away. Because with him dead, there's not much damage coming out from this Ember right now. I think he can afford a Crystallis, but...
Ooh. Void is actually about to
Yeah.
pick up an Aghanim Scepter. Do you think that'll change anything?
Not really. I mean, they can cast it more often, but it's not going to give him any more damage or anything, so... I don't know. I feel like buyback is going to be a little bit more... Buyback's always more important when you're defending. When you're pushing, it's safe to say you can buy out almost all the time, because it's just pure mechanics. Like when you're pushing all the way out to the lanes and they're all defending, say you get wiped when you're pushing, chances of you being up to spawn without a buyback when they decide to counter push is very, very
Radiant's
likely, so
middle
there's no
tower
point in
is
saving for
under
buyback.
attack.
But when you're defending, you're right there. You're right back in the fight as there's an ult going on to somebody.
Yeah, just keeping tabs on pretty much where everybody's at. They were considering a jump onto bottom, and if that was feasible, then they certainly would have gone for it. But Jenkins a little bit too far back, and looks like they're just going to be kind of moving again in this kind of 3 to 5 man rotation in always the same quadrant of the map. We do see the Void moving a little bit further forward, but as you said, without buyback, that's going to put you in a rough position if they just kind of catch you out in the woods.
I guess the pro here for Leviathan is that they have made Freedom waste their Aegis. They didn't really get too much out of it. Mineski Van Gay got a few kills on his own as there's some initiation of mid. Shivy taking tons of damage. Just
Like, that's
This is
always going to
strange.
happen. You have a Blink Earth Spirit, you have a Blink Slardar. If you're not 100% positive that there's nobody here or in any of the flanking positions, then the mid spot right here is just something that you cannot actually contest. And now we see, again, the pickoff come through. Boris gets hexed. These pickoffs are something that you just can't allow to happen, and they're happening left and right.
Yeah, Boris has unfortunately been picked off way too much, but he's not even the important hero here for.
Oh,
for
even
right now.
Eagle getting picked up here. The Tornado EMP to seal his fate as they go ahead and get the really long boulder smash across from Jubei. Now they're going to go ahead, siege high ground with none of those damage dealers to counter push. This tier 3 is definitely gone, and with it, probably the Rex.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
And even if Zeus does buyback, it doesn't matter. They won't have. It'll be a 3-on-5 fight with massive network
Dire's
lead
middle
here for
tower
Freedom.
has fallen.
This is honestly probably game.
Dire's middle barracks are
Buyback
under
does come
attack.
back up for Boris right now, but I think it's
Dire's
pointless
middle
with the
barracks
racks already
has fallen.
falling.
Dire's bottom
We'll see though if he
tower
gets
is under
desperate, as
attack.
there's an arrow onto a Force Spirit.
Dire's bottom tower
Doesn't really
has
matter.
fallen.
They just never gave themselves an opportunity to fight as a team, or smoke gank, or do anything like that. I think Leviathan needs
Dire's middle barracks.
some. Oh, see, finally a Chronosphere.
Yeah, but it's just going to be on the Vengeful Spirit after the swap. We're going to see Fun die, but in the end, Jenkins is the one out of position. He's going to be actually under the Moonlight Shadow a little bit longer, but he's going to go down. Oh, he time walks for a bit. We're going to see this Death Ward hit hard on the Slardar. Still, the Void will go down, and they will just try to walk away. Nice double chains coming out Slardar. IX Mike, the comboed up with the Yules with the damage here, but Sunbay in the end will still get stunned up, still lose the gem, and in exchange for their melee racks, their tier 3 bottom, they will get 3 kills.
You see the fight power of their team fight with Leviathan is once they are actually ready to fight as a team, as there's initiation onto Eagle. Cold snap after the EMP makes it real easy as he jets on out of there. But Freedom has just done a really good job of picking Leviathan apart, and they have the tools to do so with the Slithering Crush, Invoker's long range spells. Earth Spirit's actually been really important too, especially when they've been ganking the Ember, just because without a BKB or Manta or anything like that, the silence just makes it really impossible for Ember to run away or go to that remnant that's away. And Mineski's looking for another kill with that Hex. Can you do it?
Looks like he will be able to. The EMP will come out. He's got a lot of Wex, and now Ember Spirit is lacking a lot of mana. Going to be finished off by the AoE deafening and that last hit. Godlike spree for Francis as he just skirts around here with pretty much his full 6 slot. Gonna get the Yules. There's the Meteor, but the Sunstrike's off the mark, and Francis is caught inside that Chronosphere. Very nice hit from the Earth Spirit there. Great double stun. The swap back as well. He's got 6 stacks of that time dilation, and he's gonna be going down to some long range nukes. Now Sunbeat tries to jump in, tries to get involved, but probably going to have to pop his BKB if they get a little bit closer. He does it just for precautionary measures as he sprints out. You're going to see Jubei on the cliff, blink, but just going to TP.
Gotcha.
Yep, still the problem is they have no carry that's getting a ton of farm, namely Boris. He's very, very underfarmed. He keeps getting picked off. Faceless Void's actually getting some good farm now. His net worth is right there with Sunbeam. And again, you can see the power of their team fight if they can actually stay together and fight as a team. Now with the Veil coming out for Zeus, I thought he'd go for something like a BKB, but I feel like at this juncture he's thinking, we just need damage.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we have the ability to kill them and kill them fast, because if they kill Invoker, that's, what, 30k net worth just off the board. And then it's like an even fight, finally.
Yeah, definitely. But it's still going to be really tough. I mean, this Invoker is so massive. He is, in my mind, fully 6-slotted. You get maybe a Moon Shard from here. You can pocket some Necronomicons. But is there really any other item progression for an Invoker at this stage?
No. I mean, you can... He's already substituting a Blink for his Yules. I guess as the refresher for the Yules, but this is pretty much all you want.
Well, we are going to be...
Maybe you get a 7th item book.
Yeah, that's right. Pocket have the book on the courier. Throw 1 or 2 of those out for the slow siege mode, but otherwise, there's really nothing else you're wanting in this position. I mean, you could obviously go right click, but the team certainly doesn't need it right now. They've already got all the wherewithal to kill off their targets as Jenkins gets hexed and gets obliterated by Impetus Strike after Impetus Strike. Witch Doctor caught by the Yules, going to be going down as well. And that's going to be their ticket into the bottom and perhaps just the entire game. We see now a 5 versus 3 favoring Freedom. They've been working so hard to build this advantage, throwing almost nothing of it away. And now, with one more Roshan, they should be in position to take the win.
Roshan has fallen to the Radiant.
Yeah, it's just Leviathan just aren't fighting as a team, and Freedom are picking them apart and taking advantage of that. And as AC always calls it, the save your buddy syndrome, where someone's thinking in their mind, so I can save you, I need to, be in the vicinity and like try to help you out, but it ends up hurting them in the long run by giving and one. So Void buys back here. They get the kill on Shivy before he gets anything done with the Chrono. Just a solo.
On the Venge anyways. What? That is not what they were looking for. Jacob's going to be going down, but he's actually time walking and reverting a lot of that damage. Still, he's the one most exposed, gets a decent time dilation off. BKB'd immediately by Sunbay, who will look to just Link crush onto 2, a boulder smash to follow, and they'll break them down at the well. One more impetus. Oh, the nuclear Sproink detected. That's going to be the Witch Doctor dead, and that's going to be their entire base just taken over as a good game, well played, comes out from Eagle.
Well, this was really a clinic from Mineski and Sunbee. They performed very well. Fun also just did a phenomenal job with some swaps, but that's just, what you do with Avenge. They gave a little bit of an edge in an opening there for Leviathan to come back, and honestly took Roche quite late, but just the overextension from a lot of players, namely the Ember Spirit bottom lane a couple times. Zeus, he got caught off a couple times, but that's kind of the nature of Zeus in general. High output, but very, very little defense. And you saw that. So I think Chevy still played well. He got kind of manhandled in the mid lane. As Mineski did very, very well. Obviously, the roam from Fun helped out, but there was a bit of a timing, and Freedom just executed very, very well after that Roshan. You saw, as soon as they took Aegis, everything was different. Whether it was the confidence that they could take fights, but they were just addressing Leviathan very, very well once they knew they had the Aegis.
Absolutely, and both of us probably agree that it was a surprising amount of time before they actually took that initiative, but it allowed Francis to really play his style. The fact is, he's used to heroes that are high mobility, high potential pick-off value, and just are able to build themselves up really nicely. So, while yes, they didn't take key objectives as early as you would expect with that kind of draft, it really comes down to just how well the Invoker was doing that. Continuously Francis just said, okay, let me get one more item, we'll keep doing this. And it's very telling that they had 4 Blink Daggers up against a single Zeus. Usually Zeus is a hero that makes you want to minimize your Blink Dagger so that you don't have it canceled by his passive or by his ultimate, and you don't rely too heavily on that.
Right.
But because they knew that all they had to do was just keep finding pickoffs and keep finding random kills to force Leviathan into an extremely turtled up position, they were able to take the full value out of all those blinks and pick it up on heroes you wouldn't even normally see it, like the Enchantress and the Earth Spirit.
Yep, absolutely. So, well played by Freedom. It was a fun draft. I still like the draft of Leviathan. I just think they needed to play a little bit more as a team. They needed to use those smokes. Like you said, they had 3 just unused towards the end there. And look at their abilities. They're all team fight-oriented abilities. You can't, especially with an offlane Void, you can't just, and the build he went, you can't just run around getting solo Chronos onto this kind of team Freedom, especially with Avenge in the game. You need to use these abilities with your team, and they didn't make good use of the smokes, unfortunately.
Well, that's going to call into question whether or not they have the team play to bring it together here in the second game, trying to bring it to a game 3. We'll see the second game of this best of 3 series here in round 1 of the BTS Americas number 3 coming up in just a few minutes. Thanks, guys, once again for tuning in. If you enjoyed the commentary, please feel free to look us up. I'm at BlazeCasting on Twitter. He is at Tralf Dota, and we will see you guys in just a few minutes for game number 3.